when we were coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning from a winter in Mexico last winter, I was just looking forward to bumping down my road because a lot of potholes on that road, especially the ones that develop over winter. But I know darn well that there were potholes on that road before we even left. And here we are cruising in at 3 in the morning, and it was just smooth as could be. There were no potholes. And I remembered, God, there was this guy that I supposedly was camping out in our driveway for the winter. Somebody that was living in our house told us about him. And then the next day we saw, lo and behold, there was a van out there and like a makeshift house made out of see-through plastic. And there he was. And he's been there ever since. It's very comfortable living out there in this very simple way. Not very materialistic. He has his guitar, and he lives really in nature, kind of like a Thoreau, but one that has some visitors from time to time. So his name is Paul Tierney, and I'd like to introduce him now by having him play a song. And then we'll chat with him and play some of his wonderful original music that we just discovered in our backyard. Paul, give us a tune, will you?
Okay, this is called...
And welcome.
Thank you. This is called You As You Are. It's a gift to me. Look in the mirror, see that it's true. Nothing created could ever be dearer than you as you are. You as you are. See your very truth of being. Is this what your friends are seeing? Is there something dearly missed? Something God alone has kissed? In the mirror now behold, no one's truth has yet been told.
That's pretty deep, man. Where'd that come from?
Ain't no shallow side in the pool of life.
Oh boy. It sounds pretty personal. It sounds like something we were talking about earlier today. I mean, some kind of a quest that you're on to discover.
What? The way I think of it is I'm trying to reclaim the brains I was born with.
Did you lose them somewhere? Or something?
Yeah, a few places. In the school of frightened, angry teachers in the land of sit down and shut up. I want to reclaim the kid that went into oblivion when the rest of me got on the school bus.
Oblivion? What do you mean, oblivion?
Well,
Got
not all.
sucked up by some kind of a thing or something, or what?
I felt like I couldn't. Not all of me could get on the school bus.
You want to get on the school bus or get on the cool bus? Is that what it
Well,
was?
my
What do you mean?
school
It's a-
bus wasn't that cool.
No. But what would be the cool bus if you got on that one? What might that have been?
Well, we wouldn't get in trouble for smoking in the back of it.
Oh, yeah, you're trying to sneak a little, what? What were you smoking back there?
Well, back in those days, it was tobacco.
Tobacco? Yeah, yeah.
Where you could get Lucky Strikes for 18 cents a pack.
Yeah, I started sneaking Luckies when I was about 9 years old back in the woods. Yeah. God, it took me a long time to get out of it, too. That's another story. They hooked me. They hooked me good. That, this, and the other thing. But did they hook you?
Every year I smoke less and enjoy it more.
Yeah. I know.
Because-
You make your own pipes, too, I noticed.
Yeah, and I don't think the Native Americans smoked themselves sick with this stuff. I think being a sacrament, it's for healing, and as a healing sacrament, it's diagnosing what we're doing is we're trying to replace one thing that we really need with another thing to fill the spot.
Yeah?
And we're going out behind the building on our coffee break to light up our cigarette. And the message we send to the healing spirits is, beam me up, Scotty. And, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
It's a sacrament. We're using it to, to stop up the cracks where the noise gets in. There's a Beatles song that comes to mind, but I don't have the words for it. I'm
I noticed
filling the cracks.
Your whole world where you are. You're living on the edge of our wetlands that we have, and there's a lot of life there, and you seem to be communing with this life. You're saying sacrament, coming from sacred, but I noticed that what you seem to be most interested in is all these energies that are surrounding you in nature. And you're not really interested in technology or a lot of the things going on in the world today or trends.
I'm very interested in technology.
You are?
But I want the kind of technology that you can put together. It's like, to me, the New Age is going to need a piece of the Stone Age. And the way a Stone Age person would look at our world and everything that's in it is, they'd make use of it. Like the Indians took the copper that we threw away and, hammered it into all sorts of things. And made beautiful jewelry with it.
You're recycling a lot of things, aren't you?
Everything I can. And I got quite a mess of stuff I ain't figured out how to recycle.
Right.
And I never knew where to put anything. But what I'd really like to do is downsize my life without compromising my needs and my wants. I like to be comfortable.
And you're comfortable pretty much living outside. Well, you have your van. so you can get some
it's,
creature comfort there.
As a tent, that thing's, a brick outhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's reasonably windproof. It was more windproof when it was new.
Right.
But, and there's an awful lot of stuff I got to figure out. What I'd really like to do eventually is be able to put the whole thing, my whole life, in a trailer behind a motorized bicycle and go where I want. And if I want to, go on the water, I could put pontoons underneath the trailer, the bicycle on it, hook the motor of the bicycle up to a paddle wheel, run in between the pontoons, and go where I want, so long as
Sounds
the
a lot
waves
like
aren't
Grandpa
too-
Woodstock to me, some of the things he's done.
He and I have some of the same, we've been nudged in the same way. One of the things that I see an awful lot of in the whole rainbow movement, is people being nudged by things that aren't exactly listed in the TV guide. People trying to rewrite their worldview so it works a little better. And I think anybody who's trying to do that is right for doing it. And even if it doesn't make sense right away to other people, that's what they're doing. How did I get into that?
At least it's an honest effort to really discover the world, the world that you want to create, that will work for you.
Yeah, I remember how we got into it. It was because Grandpa and I had been nudged by the same, whatever you want to call it, that's got the both of us, him on land with the wheel and me on water with a water wheel, paddle wheel. Both of us want to take the energy generated by our favorite rocking chair and go where we want with the energy. The back and forth hooked up, it's, a simple technology.
And would you travel? Would you start traveling at that point?
Sure.
You could go pretty far with that, right?
Yeah, and if I get some great big plastic barrels, I might be able to cross the great water, and I need some education
What, on some
too.
pontoon kind of things?
Yeah, I got a daughter in India. It'd be fun to go over there and see her if I figure out how to catch the wind right, my old tarpaulin.
Yeah. Well, you're very daring. Tell me about a little bit about in the backyard where you live there. Some of the creatures that you encounter and your relationship with them. I mean, I noticed, for one, that the beavers, after the big floods last year, were the water wouldn't recede. All of a sudden, we have these beavers building dams, and now the water won't recede still. And you kind of talked me into. You said you'll take care of it, and you don't trap the beavers.
Traps came in,
Yeah,
I
the
was.
neighbors put up steel traps because they were trying to deal with it too. And we were all talking about what to do so that it wouldn't kill all our trees from this water logging. And then, so what?
Well, for a couple of years, the last couple of years, I spent every spare moment collecting pipestones upstream from there. And when I saw that wetland pond, Lake Giardia, sparkling Lake Giardia, I had this feeling about it. And then I had dreams about it. And
You're oming with the frogs, right?
yeah, ever since spring I've been oming with the frogs, and now they know me. And when I'm going someplace, they kind of know. And when I come back, they say hi. They greet me like my pets used to greet me. Except I don't have to.
What else greets you? What other relationships you have with animals around there?
Well, we're talking about
bears. You got bears, right?
Yeah, there's a bear who comes by, a young female adult. She sniffs around, and I say, "Hi, bear," and she takes off. She gives me a look as though I'm not going to look you straight in the eye because I don't think you'll appreciate my intention. I think I'll just leave. And
Well, we're not supposed to look bears straight in the eye either, are we? That's what I read in the Woodstock Times recently. That would challenge them, from what I understand.
Oh,
Do you look
well,
them? Yeah. Do you do it?
I think if you, yeah,
You look them straight in the eye.
I have,
Yeah.
because I want them to know where I'm coming from. I don't want to hold back from them. I don't want to be afraid of them.
And you don't feel any threat from them at all?
No.
Did they not peek into your plastic shelter that they could have?
Oh
easily...
I heard this, and I looked over, and there's this big bear face, you know. I said, "Hi, bear," and kept walking on. And then your cat Mystic and I just stood in the driveway watching her walk down the driveway.
Yeah.
And last time I saw her, boy, she was skinny.
Yeah.
I never seen a skinny bear before.
Think they're having trouble finding food, huh?
I don't know. There's a fox that he looks kind of skinny too, but I think because he's young.
The red fox?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fox and rabbits and deer.
Rabbits look fine. Deer seem okay.
What about that rat that moved in, that came into your place? Is he still around?
Yeah, he's in there now.
Yeah. He's in there now because you're not there.
Plastic
Maybe.
makes a very thin wall.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of neat because I'm challenged to set things, set my life in order so that, I can live with everything else and not be killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a machete, and part of me thinks, hey, yeah, you try it once, because he's done a lot of damage.
So you won't kill the rat? You won't just...
I'm not going to say that I won't. I still might, because...
Wow, that was...
but I don't want to, because I know that it's
You do
wrong.
everything not to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I ever put my life on pontoons, if I did it as well as I've got things together now, I think I'd be 90% washed overboard in about 5 minutes. The first big wave. This is just one little rat.
So it's just some kind of dream you're kind of working on and trying to figure out.
I have dreams. I mean, I have directions.
Yeah.
And I feel good when I'm moving in that direction.
You seem really happy just being in one place for quite a while now. I mean, what, 6 months now or so?
Oh, I have to 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah. Lelock told me that.
And you're meeting people, quite a few, as they come in?
Oh, yeah.
You greet the tourists at the Woodstock Museum, oftentimes.
Excuse me, are you looking for the museum? Yeah. It's been interesting because I went there looking to withdraw from everything except what I need.
When you got there in the winter, there was nothing much happening. Right?
Yeah,
It was really quiet.
Yeah, it was.
Then we show up and all this traffic.
It was a hermit's paradise.
Right.
And now I'm like the hippie hermit in the fishbowl, which is kind of cool because I am permitted to do what I need to do for me, and what I am inspired to do for where I am. And I got a lot of stuff that I'd like to make visible somehow, and it's a chance to see what people see.
Yeah.
And it's been neat.
So you're getting some feedback, and all good feedback. Everybody seems to enjoy meeting you and your presence and your conversation and your music. Why don't we sing another song?
All right.
I mean, why don't you sing another song? Unless you want some good backup over here. I could do a Louis Armstrong in the background if you want.
I'll have to keep that in mind. I've been thinking about bringing your Louis Armstrong down to the edge of the pond and see what the frogs make of him.
Yeah, well, they'll probably love him like everybody else.
Because when you're playing music over the speakers up at the pool, they're all down there listening. They're singing along, too.
Well, you know why they like Satchmo so much?
Why?
Because he said it. He said, you don't play it too slow. and he don't play it too fast. He just plays it half-assed. Yeah. That's what he said, anyway. That was really his definition of jazz, as far as I understood it. But here, let's see what you come up with. All right.
I had to change one string.
Tuning it up, huh? Well,
It was in tune when I bought it.
This is Paul Tierney, lives in our driveway. He's enjoying a simple life, very close to nature on the edge of wetlands.
The problem that we're up against is that we're up against it. Curiously hard to see the way the mind has fenced it. And yet, no worse off are we than he who circumvents it. And all I feel is pity for the one who first invents it. The problem that we're up against is that we're up against it. Curiously hard to see the way the mind has fenced it. The old familiar misery we dream about ending it, entwined with our identity, we end up defending it. Is that we're up against it. Curiously hard to see the way the mind has fenced it. Maybe ancient history doesn't quite mention it. The sad, impaling tragedy. I admit that I condensed it. Familiar misery we dream about ending it, entwined with our identity, we end up defending it. Maybe ancient history doesn't quite mention it, the sad impaling tragedy. I admit that I condensed it. The problem that we're up against is that we're up against it. Curiously hard to see the way the mind has fenced it.
Right.
Thank you.
So, am I right if I'm saying that that song is something about we're our own worst enemy or something? I mean, is that part of
We're
it?
taught to be.
We're taught to be.
We're a culture whose roots are grounded in conquest and enslavement. And the way to keep control of the masses is to keep them divided against themselves and one another. And it hasn't gone anywhere, you know. After a few generations, you know, you can't fight City Hall. You don't love them. You want to tell them where to get off, and then you go out and vote for them. The fabric that we're walking on hasn't changed. And that needs to be seen because, you know, the impact on the mind, you know, what's a few thousand years of unprecedented brutality within our species done for your mind?
So is there any hope? I mean, wasn't there
Yeah.
a time, yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
something that was be very gradual from now, or are we going to reach some kind of a swing of the pendulum and come back
I
another
was-
direction rapidly?
I was
sometime?
told that it takes 3 generations to really destroy a culture to where it has no more power. But it only takes 1 generation to reclaim humanity. And I was also given this thing called the Chain of Conquest. It's a big, long chain, and each link in the chain is 1 generation. And each link is made up of many links. That is the individual of that generation, giving each of us 1 link that we're free to open. And then the question is, what happens to the whole chain when 1 member of 1 generation opens his link? Oops.
Mhm.
The whole thing breaks, right?
I guess so, yeah. It breaks apart. It's no longer connected.
Yeah, so,
Is that what's happening, you think?
well, that's what I'd like to do, is open my link.
Open your link. In other
And be
words,
free.
free yourself up from
If
the
I- if-
bondage.
Yeah, if I could reclaim the braids I was born with, we're talking about...
Before the conditioning and the programming and all the
Yeah.
stuff that caused you to be who you are, the pain,
The fragmenting of consciousness,
the duality, from oneness to separation or something, or duality, or
the way, in the land of sit down and shut up, there's a part of you that's there, there's a part of you that doesn't dare be. And we're not really taught to be kind to ourselves.
No.
And, it's like, I think it was at the first gathering, Will Callahan told me this. He said, some guy says there's 2 commandments, be real and be kind. And you have to be kind enough to yourself. This is what I figured out later and had a lot of help with. You have to be kind enough to yourself to be real, because otherwise you're going to hide from yourself. You have to be real enough to be loving. And you have to be loving enough to understand what's happened. Not just to you or me, but to all of us. If you think of God consciousness as something that, we're evolving toward, but I think it would be a lot wiser to think of it in terms as something that we ought to reclaim because it's in us. And what a Sadhguru does when he awakens somebody is he awakens it from the conditioning that has been done to it. We've all been blizzard.
So you seem to be kind of working on that still yourself, but you come across as a very gentle soul, and the way you greet people and talk with them and listen to them. It's a very peaceful vibration that you put out, but there's turmoil going on inside still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
You want to sing about more of it?
Yeah. But if I can be at peace with my tumultuous inner process,
Right.
that's a step in the right direction.
So that's what you're doing in this
Let it
existence.
be. Let it be.
Let it be. And you're in nature. You're not. I mean, you're doing a few things, but you're.
Yeah,
you're
and
very
they're
simple
all my
life.
teachers. Like I want to put a sign out there, the Shallow School of Deeper Education,
Yeah.
because they're all sensitive. They all got the brains they were born with,
All the.
They don't
life
have
around
any trouble seeing their maker.
The
It's
animals,
just-
the,
yeah.
everything that you see around you, all the
Yeah.
animals. Yeah.
They're my teachers, and as
Maybe
well as
they're
my
not so
friends.
self-conscious like humans. They just are. They're just existing
But they are conscious. They have more cognitive ability than we could dream of giving them credit.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that makes us think, okay, I'm here and this is it, you know, makes us feel like we're intelligent, you know, that's like real core stuff. The stuff that makes us believe that we're such big smarty pants. This is a cerebral cortex, which is basically a thing that processes information. We're not even conscious of an awful lot of that processing,
Right.
although we end up getting run by some pretty strange processing. Anyway.
You go to the drum circle every week, every Sunday. What does that do for you? Can you put it in the words at all?
When I first went to drum circle, before it started, I got to know Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Lincoln wasn't very well understood by a lot of people. But he introduced the drum circle to me as a religion, his religion. And I kind of like the concept because I really think the world needs a religion, and I'm not too terribly impressed with what I've seen.
With the other religions.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot closer to who we are, and a lot closer.
The drumming?
Yeah.
Coming together and drumming the beat.
Yeah, there's you know, we've been doing it a lot longer than we've been conquered and enslaved and babbling.
Yeah. It's a form of harmony. It's just like the crickets or the frogs that do the chirping in the symphony by the pond every night, right?
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And they're listening to one another.
But they're mating calls of sorts, aren't they, too?
Well, they're mating calls. I mean, there's all sorts of things going on, you know, in that.
Yeah.
And I don't pretend to know what they are, really, because I don't see them.
No.
I got crappy eyesight, and even in the daylight.
But you're
But
chanting.
I hear them.
You're
I talk to them,
Yeah.
and tree frogs, for one, are extremely pitch conscious, and you know, because they trill between two notes, and as they warm up in the beginning of the night, you can hear them trying to figure out which two notes they want to throw into the chorus.
Yeah.
And they become like a bell choir. You know, they take turns. You know, if you're once step apart from one another, one will go da, and the other who goes da, da, you know, one note apart, will wait, and only occasionally will dissonance come together, and when it does happen, it has a very strange effect. It produces all sorts of like overtones and undertones and outer
They're
space
flirting.
things.
They're just flirting, aren't they?
They're playing with sound, they're saying who they are, they're hearing who they're with, and they're singing together, and they're praising the Lord, and it's a joyous sound. And all those little green guys out there, they make me smile every day.
It's good. You want to sing another one or what?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Maybe I'll do Irving first. Okay. Irving the goldfish lives in a bowl with a snail who calls himself Jake. Herb is graceful and shimmery, but I love him the best for the great conversations we make. He's not like a dog or a cat. He won't fetch a stick or any of that. He just swims in his bowl and looks out at us all, and he's happy when someone looks back. Often he opens and closes his mouth, and he seems to have something to say. So I open, I answer back with some thoughts of my own, and whatever I've been through that day. But Irving cannot understand So I must put my whole face right in his bowl, and then our discussions are grand. I say, "Hello, Birmingham, how are you?" And he says, "Very well." I know you would cheer for the stories you'd hear, like the fine tales that Irving can tell. Some of you people, I know you'd love to hear the tales of a fish on the end of a line. For a meal is fine, but the poor thing ends up on your dish. If you want them fishes to stay, to help you pass the time away, get under that water like a fish's friend oughter, and hear what the fish have to say. I know Irving cannot understand anything out of the water on dry land, so I must put my whole face right in his bowl, and then our discussions are grand. I say, "Hello, how are you?" And he says, "Very well." I know you would cheer for the stories you'd hear, all the fine tales that Irving can tell. The fine tales that Irving can tell.
Right. Very nice, Bill.
I want to throw another one in. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Because this is the same room from a different window. It's called Wild Animals. We think of wild animals as aggressive or afraid, which is their response to how we act, but not to how we're made. To reclaim one's destined birthright as Mother Nature's child, best to let oneself be tamed by all that still is wild. For there's no greater gift the earth can give than love from those who still can live in all their truth. Live in all their truth and let live. To reclaim one's destined birthright as Mother Nature's child, best to let oneself be tamed by all that still is wild. 'Cause there's no greater gift the earth can give than love from those who still can live in all their truth. Live in all their truth and let live.
So, Paul, when did you become a hippie? How did this? Was it some transition that happened overnight, or? I mean, you grew your hair long, grew a beard, and started thinking about things like this.
I'm glad you asked me that earlier today, so I wouldn't babble so badly when you asked me tonight. In my teens, It was before the Beatles. It was before the word hippie, a ways before the word hippie even existed. I got so lost trying to impress other people with what they were looking to be impressed with. I didn't know who I was anymore. And I sort of, gravitated toward the woods. I felt closer to nature than I did to my own species. And I felt that I would feel better if I just had what my maker gave me instead of trying to make it into something else, because that wasn't good for me.
And then you began to see that there was another you. There was a you beneath the one that had been kind of forced into some conditioning or into a mold. And
I've been
kind of broke out of it.
stumbling over that
Broke your
piece of
chain?
me. I've been stumbling over it in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
Then and now even.
Yeah, sure.
I'm more at peace with it now than I was then. And I don't hurt myself because I don't move as fast. And I'm kinder.
Okay. Yeah. So what else should we talk about? What about politics? What do you think about the governments and the world today? And
I think we need, what do they call it? Preference voting or runoff voting. Some countries have it, where instead of voting for the lesser of evils, which is a vote for evil, you vote for the person you really want, and if that person doesn't win, your vote goes to your second choice, and if that one doesn't win, your third choice, and so on down the line. So we're actually represented by a much more realistic voting process, because what's happening now is hardly worth it.
you ever think about how we don't even choose the ones who are going to run for president? They don't come rising up out of the grassroots. They usually get appointed by the corporatocracy at the top. And
I don't have a lot of faith. I think we are a culture of pirates. I think history would bear me out.
humans don't have a very good track record. Is that what you're saying? In terms of...
Well, I notice everybody kind of feels ripped off. And a lot of those of us who are feeling ripped off are trying to get something back somehow. And, in my mind, I see the trade towers so neatly imploding. And to me, it's like the perfect icon to represent a culture that consumes itself into oblivion from the inside out. And that's what we have to stop. We can't stop it until we see it.
implodes.
Yeah.
Culture's imploding.
That's what's going to happen, because...
But out of that, maybe something new will happen. Something very different, hopefully.
Yeah.
Not that it has in the past, as far as we've seen, but...
Well, hopefully we'll see what's going on. We'll understand what needs to be healed, because peace will be a byproduct of that healing. And, if we know what we're doing, if we realize just what our traditions have done to us, that only we ourselves can do something about.
Do you think these lofty ideals can actually win over in the end, over the big superpowers that exist that are controlling?
I think we make a mistake of thinking of some of these things as lofty ideals, because the most wonderful Christians I ever have known in my life were field mice. I brought some house mice that I trapped in the house, and I brought them out to my workshop where, mice can live and it doesn't hurt anything. And I was afraid that the field mice, because they would occupy the same niche ecologically, that they would compete and it would be a mess. And to my absolute surprise, the field mice were so excited with these guys. It was broad daylight. A few of them noticed and ran back and woke up the others. And they were so happy to have these new brothers and sisters that they could take care of. They were the best Christians I've ever seen, and they weren't even church mice. They were field mice. They loved other mice, even if they were different species. And watching a mother field mouse trying to teach a little gray house mouse how to get from downstairs to up, because mice can't use the stairway. Their legs aren't that long. And this little mouse, thought he knew how to do it because he was a house mouse, and they, get into the wall. He's trying to I don't have a double wall. And of course, the field mice knew that. This mama mouse is trying to get him to go the right way, and she succeeds a little bit and then loses, and then looks at me and says, with her eyes, "What a job." And it was like she was saying thank you, too. It's nature. Jesus wasn't talking about rising up to something, I don't think. Not after seeing that. I've seen, an awful lot of stuff like that. I want to write a book about, full of vignettes about the animals that blew my mind.
You're almost like totems for you. I mean, you're like a pagan with totems. The animal world, the natural world are teaching you the qualities of life that pretty much personify.
If I'm going to learn from anybody, I'll learn from them because they have it.
Yeah.
And they're not stupid. They know what's going on. If you spend a week out in the woods all by yourself, you just let your mind quiet down. You tune in and get to know your neighbors, because it's their living room.
Yeah.
And then after a week of that, it's another human walks through that forest who just got out of his car maybe an hour ago.
Yeah.
You see the whole forest hush and wait until he's gone, and you'll know why. That person is not happy. If you look at the cars coming the other way, when the light is such that you can see the faces inside the car, when it's only one person in that car driving, you will see very few people smiling. The only ones who are smiling are ones that have other people in the car, and they have to.
These are the observations of Paul Tierney, who has been our guest tonight. Paul, it's been great having you on the Woodstock Museum Show. Interesting person living with us, and we admire his honesty in his lifestyle and his attempt to discover himself and his relationship to his world in the simplest way.
Well, Thank you very much for having me on.
A pleasure.
I'm honored. I like what you're doing too. You try to make something visible.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Should I do something short or something that you can trail off on?
No, something we can trail off with. Sure.
Okay.
Or whatever you feel.
Don't be fooled, there's more to you than anything that's ever been taught to you. Written in every molecule is a wisdom none of our teachers knew they knew. I need to ground my spirit in a shape that I can see. Well, it wouldn't do to make the shape, but make a place to let it be. A changing shape that speaks to me like dreams that drift across the sea, reminding me I'll always be a twinkling of eternity. Remember now the cosmic sea, you twinkling of eternity. For hydrocarbons all are free, changing rather constantly, and limit their regard for you and me. Twinkle brightly while you can, while hydrocarbons grace your hand to hold the torch and bless the land you're made of.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Paul Tierney. All right. Are you an animal?
I hope so.
You hope so. Are you a human?
Yeah, I think so.
Would you find that embarrassing to be a human, or?
Sometimes. I find it a real handicap with other species.
So what's going on over here?
Oh, I'm trying to get ready for drum circle and arguing with myself about whether or not I should squeeze in some shopping beforehand, because I can't go out at night until I get my tail light fixed.
Oh,
Because a dead tail light's like a dead fish in a cave full of hungry bears.
But what is this in your hands here?
This is clay that I made from stone. I crushed the stone. This has a particularly high clay content and low silt content.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm packing it down. It's not fired yet, but I'm using the hydrostatic packing thing to get it as close to fused as possible, so that when I heat it in the kiln, it'll fuse well and strong.
Hydrostatic packing?
Yeah, using water and the medium's thirst for the water to like float, like swim all the little clay particles down in on one another so tightly that they pack together like a jigsaw puzzle. And then when you heat it, it fuses quite easily.
Mm.
I discovered that by accident. And everything worthwhile I've tripped over.
So what are you guys smoking it? Any good stuff or anything? Or?
Well, it depends. I got tobacco, but I'm not going to smoke anything in these till they're fired. This one's not even hollowed out yet. And this one is like 3 different colors of clay.
Mm. Wow, yeah. And where'd you get the clay?
I made it from different colored stone.
Oh, you said you made it from stone.
Yeah. Well, I've got some that I had that I found in a ditch over there. But it's really hard to clean. It has a high silt content. But when it's cleaned, it's really good clay. It's pretty too. It's orangey yellow. All right, these are acorns that had been shelled by my squirrel buddy so that I could eat them, because she wants me to eat them. I've been feeding her oatmeal. And
You're kidding. So how does she get them to you?
I was over there. Um, Other Paul and I were doing the garlic bed, and the squirrel was up there afterward, throwing these things down at me. And she's the one that followed when I went up Platte Clove. Got comfortable sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear blip, blop, acorns coming down at me. And then I hear this like funny uh, chaquang. She does a funny thing with her voice to. She experiments with it. I've never heard a squirrel do that, but she's the one. When I first came here, uh, she crawled. She climbed. No, she walked down the tree trunk there, and was standing like 3 feet away from me to say welcome. And so when I had the fire, and I had that oatmeal, I wasn't too sure if it was any good anymore. It seemed okay, and she liked it, so.
How do you know it's the same squirrel? I mean, don't they all look the same?
Yeah, they do, except she's a little fatter, or at least she was a little fatter. Everybody's gotten skinny. I don't know what's going on.
They're probably saving up for winter or something.
Should be getting fat for winter.
Oh, yeah.
But,
A lot of acorns.
yeah, and I might be able to save myself a few shopping trips if I can, figure out how to use them. That brown liquid, I believe, is tannic acid.
Yeah, probably.
Some
The acorns they used to make, the Indians used to use it to make bread. I think we have recipes for that. Or I can
Yeah.
find you some. I can look some recipes up for you.
That'd be cool.
I don't know if you want to make bread or if they made something else out of it, but I know they ground it up and used it for like flour or something.
Yeah, they also they roasted it and ground it, and also they put them in a basket and put them in a stream so that the tannic acid would wash out of them. There's some that don't have tannic acid.
Mm-hmm.
And they taste like coconut.
Mm-hmm.
They're wonderful.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
Yeah,
wow, that'd be nice.
I was hoping these taste more like raw lima beans.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So what about the beavers? You have a deal going with them too? Or?
well, I learned something about the beavers. When they make a dam, they're not just trying to raise the level of the water, they're also trying to clean out the bottom. Anything that they don't like, they use their tails and they fan it up into the stream of water. When I come and I take out enough of the dam to let about like 120 gallons a minute through, maybe more than that. What comes out the other end of the culverts on good days is 120 gallons a minute. But they fan all this stuff up with their tails. I can see the mud, I can see the ripples. They don't show themselves or anything like that, but they're ready for me when I come. And I don't open up the whole dam because then they'll bring all sorts of crap in there that it's hard to pull out. But if I just open up enough of it to let a little bit more than can make it down the culvert.
And this is something to do like with a day shift and a night shift? You do it at...
Yeah, I come in the morning. They come in the evening and close the gate. I come in the morning and open the gate because they only work at night. But they're ready. They're underwater. They're waiting for me. And there's a number of different animals that say he's coming now. And a lot of them I didn't notice at first because it's just animals making noises, talking to each other. But then day after day I hear the same thing when I reach a certain point and I start putting it together and I realize, yeah, they've been watching me the whole time.
Who, birds? Or...
The birds, the frogs, who else?
Well, you make
the
music
squirrels.
with the squirrels. And you make music with the frogs, don't you?
Yeah, we do this wonderful thing. Not anymore. Things have quieted down every once in a while here. And all.
The summer's over.
Yeah.
So what are the frogs doing? What do they do all winter? They hibernate.
They sleep in the mud.
Uh-huh.
And I guess their metabolism, when it gets cold enough, their metabolism slows down enough so that there's enough. If they're in the right mud with the right groundwater coming through, they can breathe through the skin.
Well, you're going to be pretty lonely this winter if all your friends are, like, sleeping.
I might be under the mud with them.
What's this?
I just discovered that yogurt containers fit very snugly over the top of pineapple juice cans, which I've discovered go together when crimped with a pair of needle nose pliers. They go together to make stovepipe. No nuts or bolts or nothing. I just crimped them and stuffed them. And it's a more solid junction than I ever dreamed of getting.
So you're making a stovepipe for what? For the wood stove?
Yeah, I want to make a little wood stove, something too small for anybody to want to make, except me, you know. But I don't need anything big in there. What I need is something that'll get really hot for a little while and heat up a bunch of stones, because I'm going to have a stone oven with a tiny wood stove inside it, and my stovepipe going up. I haven't figured out the elbow yet, but I'll figure that out of cardboard first. It's easier. Go out through the side of the house.
Looks like you got your work cut out for you. Just
Yeah,
like
well,
the squirrels.
yeah. Well, I want to get more comfortable with that. I'm like really tired of, having to deal with, the Coleman's things. They're fine and dandy, but they're a pain in the neck too, because they clog. Then you have to clean them. What do you do with the gas that you clean them out with? I don't want to dump it in the pond or in the driveway where it'll end up in the pond. But there's, so much stuff here that's, a very renewable resource, like, branches, all the dead branches around here, the pile of bark up there. I was going to take some and try that, and then the rat came and lived in it and pulled all my papers into it. Not all of them, but enough to chew up and make into a nice cozy home. Until I discovered it.
It looks like a recycle center. That's what it looks like, a recycling center. You're Mr. Natural. You just don't want to have a carbon footprint. You're trying to deal what there already is with the damage that's already been done, or do work with natural substances, it seems.
Yeah, and I've never known where to put anything. Except sometimes I know enough to get it out of the rain. Figured out how to.
Invasive vine.
I don't know. I haven't figured out what it is. Felicia thinks it might be a lipstick vine or lipstick plant, something like that. I've never seen it flower.
You can make a lot of money with a lipstick plant.
Well,
Not that
if I
you
could
care.
figure out how to use it, it doesn't look like lipstick anything to me. It looks like something like wisteria or something.
Yeah, it's definitely not the poison ivy.
Choking everything out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if there's a good use for it, then it doesn't have to choke things out.